What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cam show. We got NFL Week 11. Shout out to my Indianapolis Colts. This is the biggest game for them all year. They are 5-5 right now. They are going into Buffalo, and this is not going to be an easy game. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills, they are 7-point favorites, but I really think the Colts can win this game, and it starts with their offensive line and Carson Wentz. If Carson Wentz, the way he's been playing recently, the Colts can win, and I have faith in the Colts. Look, Carson Wentz, 17 touchdowns, only 3 picks this year. And then obviously Jonathan Taylor, the future superstar that he is for the Indianapolis Colts. I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what the future holds for this young man. But looking at this matchup, I really think the Colts can get it. I really do. But, the devastating news with the Colts was Darius Leonard, their linebacker. He's questionable right now with an ankle injury, and I think if he's going to be out, I got to go against the Colts. I got to take the Buffalo Bills, but if Darius Leonard does play, I love the Colts in this matchup. I like them with the upset. It really depends on him because I think he is a difference maker on that defensive side. I do think he is a run stopper. He can also play out in coverage as well. So I think that is a huge loss for the Colts if he's out. But I think looking at it right here, I mean, Josh Allen, yes, he's had a great season this year, over 2,600 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, only 6 picks. And then Stephon Diggs, he's got 4 touchdowns on 750 yards receiving. I just think for the Bills, a lot of inconsistency this year. I mean, one game they're really nice, but the other games it's like they don't know who they are. I mean, we saw that, before, in a couple other games. But I just think looking at this, I think the Colts can really win and upset the Buffalo Bills. Therefore, I'm going with my Indianapolis Colts with the upset here. I like them. I think Carson Wentz is going to have a breakout game. 2,378 yards passing. I think a lot of people in Indianapolis really minimize Carson Wentz and say all the negative things what Carson Wentz has done and all this stuff. But I think, you know what? Carson Wentz, he has way more upside than Andrew Luck did here in Indianapolis. So I think, with the Colts, what we have right now, I do think this is a huge game. We don't want to go down under 500 after this. I think this is a huge game. I think this is a confidence booster game. And I think, looking at it, if the Colts win this game, we can easily make the playoffs this year. Whereas if we do lose, we're 5-6. Not on the outside looking in. I think 6-5 is clearly way better. So I love the Colts in this matchup, and I think Carson Wentz is going to have a big game. And I think Jonathan Taylor needs to have a big game as well. I like them to utilize that play action. Play action. Get Jonathan Taylor in the mix more often. I do think he deserves to have more touches as well, not just handoffs. I'm saying it in the passing game as well. So I love the Colts in this matchup with the upset. 49.5 is the over/under. I'd probably go with the under. I think it's going to be a little bit low scoring in the first half. But I love my Indianapolis Colts with the upset here. Then we have the Thursday night game. I had the Patriots over Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, they're trash. Matt Ryan, I think his time is up in Atlanta. It really is, dude. I mean, 2 interceptions. I mean, they didn't even score a touchdown. 25-0, and there was really flashbacks from the 2016 Super Bowl. So the Saints still haven't recovered. Big win by the Patriots. I started off 1-0 this weekend. And then we got the Ravens versus the Chicago Bears. The Ravens are coming in 6-point favorites. Obviously, the Ravens lost their most recent game against the Miami Dolphins, which I was really surprised. I had the Baltimore Ravens. I had Lamar Jackson. But look, Lamar, he's definitely a great quarterback, and a lot of people want to minimize him as well. I mean, we saw Louisville retire his number, his jersey. I mean, shout out to Lamar. What a game changer. I mean, 2,447 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, only 8 picks this year. 639 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. I think Lamar has that it factor. I do think Lamar, what he needs to work on is don't get hit that often. If you want to stay in the league the next 10 years, you need to take less hits. And I think, we see quarterbacks like Russell Wilson understand that. Slide when he needs to. I think Lamar takes sometimes unnecessary hits where he doesn't even need to take those hits. Not that I'm saying he can or can't. I just think long-term wise, he needs to take less hits to stay in the NFL longer. But I love Lamar and the Ravens in this matchup. Hollywood Brown, he's got 6 touchdowns. I just think for the Bears right now, they're trying to find themselves. They've given up over 25 points a game. That defense, really weak. But I think for Justin Fields, like I said, started off really slow, didn't start, and I just think he started off behind the eight ball from the get-go. I just think if the coach would have started Justin Fields right from the get-go, it would have been a lot better, a lot easier. But, Justin Fields, 4 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. So I just think right now, yes, Chicago's going to play great, but I like the Ravens in this matchup. I think the Ravens' defense is underrated. I think they're going to put pressure on Justin Fields, and I think Lamar's going to be the X factor like he is mostly every single game with the Ravens. If Lamar plays great, the Baltimore Ravens play great. If he doesn't, then they tend to not play too well and lose games which they shouldn't lose. For instance, like the Miami game. I just think for the Ravens right now, they need to win this game. You're on the road. You're in Chicago. Yes, it's a tough atmosphere. It's a tough game. But I love Baltimore Ravens in this matchup. 44.5 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the over here. I expect Baltimore Ravens and Lamar to score a lot of points here, and I expect them to have a big game. So I like the Ravens over the Chicago Bears this weekend. Then we got the Lions versus the Browns. Look, this is definitely one of them games where it's like, dude, obviously the Browns are 12.5-point favorites, but I just think for the Lions, they're winless. Obviously last week they tied against the Pittsburgh Steelers, but, Jared Goff, 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. I just think for the Lions, they're trash on defense. I mean, giving up 29 points a game, dude. 29. That is terrible. I think for Baker, yes, he's got 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Is Baker going to be the long-term quarterback for the Cleveland Browns? That is a big question mark right now. And I think Baker's not 100%. I don't want to give excuses for Baker Mayfield out there, but I just think looking at the Cleveland Browns, they're just not a playoff team right now. They're not, dude. They got rid of Odell Beckham, which I don't understand that. Why get rid of him? I just think for him and Baker, they weren't on the same page. So what? You guys are just going to go your separate ways after that? That doesn't make any sense to me, dude. It's like just because you guys aren't on the same page, come on. Correct that. And I just think they took the easy way out and said, you know what? We're not on the same page. We're done. That's it. He wants a trade. He's out of there. But Nick Chubb didn't play last week, but they need Nick Chubb, 6 touchdowns this year. If the Cleveland Browns want to win this matchup, Nick Chubb needs to play. If Nick Chubb is out, you know what? I really would take the Detroit Lions with the upset here. That's my faith in Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns right now. I don't have a lot of faith in them. I really don't, but I'm going to go Cleveland Browns. I think the 12.5 is a little too high, but like I said, if Nick Chubb is not playing, I'm going Detroit Lions. So that'll be more of a game-time decision, but looking at the bigger picture, I like the Browns right now. Money line. Go money line all day. I think the 12.5 is a little too high. 42.5 is the over-under. Probably go with the over. I think this is going to be a little bit high-scoring game. The defenses aren't too great, but I like the Browns right now if Nick Chubb plays. Then we got the Texans versus the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee Titans probably the hottest team in the NFL right now. They're on a 6-game winning streak. Ryan Tannehill, 12 touchdowns, only 8 picks this year. A.J. Brown, 567 yards passing with 3 touchdowns. Obviously, they don't have Derrick Henry right now, but imagine if they did have Derrick Henry. And I think the Tennessee Titans right now, they're in a comfortable spot where they don't need Derrick Henry right now. They need Derrick Henry back 100% by the end of the year. So if I'm their coach, I'm saying, Derrick, get that foot better. Get that foot better. That's the main priority. We don't need you to come back early. We need you to come back maybe the first game in the playoffs. That's when we need you ultimately. But Tennessee Titans, like I said, the hottest team in the NFL. Tannehill's been balling out. And I don't see the Texans really doing much. I mean, David Mills, 1,357 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 8 picks. Like I said, Deshaun Watson, that whole situation this offseason was devastating for the Houston Texans. And they've been going down south since. And I just think for the Texans, they've given up about 29 points a game. Dude, they're trash, dude. So, I'm going with the Tennessee Titans. I'll take the 10 points. This would be a huge upset if the Texans do win. But I just think the Tennessee Titans, like I said, 6-game winning streak. They're hot right now. I think they're going to blow through the Texans and continue to win to that seven wins in a row. But I like the Tennessee Titans all day here. And then we got one of the biggest games all weekend, Green Bay versus Minnesota Vikings. Classic rivalry here. Green Bay's 1-point favorites. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is probably number 1 quarterback right now, if I were to say it. I mean, overall, yes, we got to say Tom Brady's the GOAT, but I just think Aaron Rodgers, talent-wise, Aaron Rodgers is so ahead of everybody. I mean, Aaron Rodgers over 2,100 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, only 4 picks. Yes, he did miss a game because of COVID, and that's why they lost that game. And then the only other loss was week 1, and they came out really trash. But ever since that, Green Bay Packers have turned their whole season around. You guys remember week 1. We were even giving Green Bay, like, dude, Green Bay, they might be done, but looking at it right now, Green Bay's a hot team, dude. And I think Aaron Rodgers always plays well against Minnesota. He does. He kind of has their number. Kirk Cousins had a great year this year. 2,434 yards passing with 18 touchdowns, only 2 picks. I think Kirk Cousins has really turned it around in the past couple years. He has proven to me that he is a good quarterback in the NFL. Now, what about their defense? I mean, their defense really isn't too good right now to normally like we're used to seeing, right? I think they've gotten worse over the past couple years. I think they need to pick it up. Dalvin Cook, 3 touchdowns this year. He's been banged up. But I think, yes, this is going to be a great game. But ultimately, I got to go Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. Why am I doing that? Why? Because of Aaron Rodgers, dude. Like, straight up. I'll take Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins all day. Now, Kirk Cousins having a great season, but I think this game is going to come down to the wire. Probably a game-winning field goal by Crosby for the Green Bay Packers. So I like them. I like them, and I expect Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams to be on the same page here and really exploit Minnesota Vikings defense. Like I said, historically, if we're looking at it by the numbers, Green Bay always plays them nice. They always have their number, so this is a classic rivalry, but I'm going Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers all day in this matchup. I'll take the 1 points all day. Then we got Miami versus the Jets. Miami's 3.5-point favorites. Tua last week versus the Ravens, 158 yards passing. Jalen Waddle, he's got 557 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. Yes, the Dolphins' defense is not too great, giving up 25 points a game, but we have to understand the Jets. I mean, they've been banged up all year. Mike White last week, he's a backup quarterback. He threw 4 interceptions versus Buffalo. I mean, obviously, you're not going to win any games throwing 4 picks in the NFL. And I think, the Jets right now, they're on the outside looking in. Michael Carter, 367 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. But the Jets, their weakness is their defense, giving up 33 points a game. 33. That is terrible. Look, I'm going to go Miami at 3.5. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets do get the upset here. I mean, both these teams are trash, but I got to go Miami. I think Tua's going to have a big game, if not Jacoby. But I just think the Jets right now, they're banged up, and Zach Wilson is still out. So I love Miami in this matchup. 44.5 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the over because both defenses are trash. But I love Miami in this matchup because we're talking about the New York Jets here. One of the worst teams in the NFL, at the very bottom 3 in the NFL. So I like Miami Dolphins all day here. Then we got the New Orleans Saints versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly's 2.5-point favorites coming in, and I like Philly. Why do I like Philly? Because the Saints are banged up. Obviously Jameis Winston out with the ACL injury. Kamara, he's out, with the knee injury. Trevor, their backup quarterback, he had 2 touchdowns last week versus Tennessee. Played really nice. He did. I just think Taysom Hill should get some more playing time. I don't know what's going on with the Saints, but I think Jalen Hurts, this is a game where you guys do need to win. You're playing at home. You're playing a New Orleans Saints team that is banged up. So I think, for Philly, if they want to make the playoffs this year, this is a must-win game for them. Because if they lose this game, I do think they're done. They will not make the playoffs. They do have a good chance, a way better chance if they win this game. Jalen Hurts over 2,100 yards passing with 13 touchdowns, only 5 picks this year. He also has 96 carries on 549 yards rushing and 5 rushing touchdowns. So I think to get him in the mix, get him hot, from the jump, be aggressive with the play calling. If you're Philly, you're at home. Devontae Smith over 600 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. So I love Philly all day in this matchup at 2.5. Like I said, for Philly, this is a way more important game for you guys right now. You're playing a banged-up New Orleans Saints team, so this is the time to capitalize on the mistakes, okay, right here, right now. So I love Philly. 42.5 is the over-under, but I like Philly with the 2.5 spread all day here. Go Philly. Then we got the Washington team versus the Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers, 3.5-point favorites. Look, Cam Newton will start this game. Look, we saw him back last week against Arizona. He got some playing time. Look, Cam Newton, this is huge for the Carolina Panthers. And Christian McCaffrey last week had 95 yards. Look, I think McCaffrey and Cam, we saw what they used to do, and I think they're going to get that magic touch back. I really do. And I think Cam is hungry. I think Cam feels like he's been doubted towards the end of his career. Since he came into the NFL in 2011, yes, he was hot then. He won the 2015 MVP in the NFL, went to the Super Bowl, lost in the Super Bowl. And ever since then, he's been on the decline. I will admit that. But looking at the bigger picture right now, and this year, I do think Cam Newton, he realizes, man, we are 5-5 right now. But if we continue to win right now, we can really get in the playoffs, even at 5-5. So I think for Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers, this is a huge game. Yes, the Washington team, they did upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week. Taylor Heineke, he's got 12 touchdowns, 9 picks this year, over 2,100 yards passing. And then Antonio Gibson, over 500 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns for the Washington team. I expect them to have breakout games, but ultimately, I'm going with the Carolina Panthers at home. I think Cam Newton's going to show out. He's back at his home place, and I think, with Cam Newton and McCaffrey in the lineup, I love the Carolina Panthers here. I would go heavy on the Carolina Panthers. I put my faith in Cam Newton. I think a lot of people's doubting him. So I love the Panthers right now, and I expect McCaffrey to have a breakout game. Go Carolina Panthers at 3.5. Then we got the 49ers versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. San Francisco's 6.5-point favorites, which they should be. I mean, we saw them beat the Rams last week, and I think for the Jacksonville Jaguars, you guys are 2-7. Under Urban Meyer. I think Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, definitely a devastating season this year. I think definitely they could have handled situations differently. But look, Trevor Lawrence, 8 touchdowns, 9 picks, almost 2,000 yards passing. I think, yes, it is a shaky start to your NFL career. Now, is he going to be a bust? I don't think so. I still think Trevor Lawrence can be a success in the NFL. I just think right now his rookie season definitely was a wake-up call. This isn't college football anymore, Trevor. This is the NFL. These are the best athletes in the world. Everybody's bigger. Everybody's faster. Everybody's stronger, okay? Like, this ain't college anymore. So I think for Urban Meyer, yes, it's a wake-up call for him as well. I do think Jacksonville's going to give him a shot, but I just think he's under the hot seat dealing with all the speculations that's happened this year with Coach Meyer. But look, I like San Francisco in this matchup. I do. I think San Francisco, they proved to me last week, beating the Rams as heavy underdogs. Hey, that's all they needed to do. And I think Jimmy G, he's a sound quarterback, over 1,900 yards passing with 10 touchdowns, only 5 picks. Deebo Samuel, 979 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. I love San Francisco here. I think it's San Francisco all day. James Robinson, he's questionable for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I just think, for Jacksonville, they've given up 26 points a game and only been averaging about 17. That is terrible, and that makes sense why they've only won 2 games this year. And I think Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, they got to get on the same page. They have to, but I like San Francisco here. Now, I would love to see Jacksonville with the upset here, but I'm going Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers in that run game. Then we got the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Las Vegas Raiders. This is definitely a coin flip matchup. This is a coin flip, heads or tails. Who are you going to choose? This is a tough one. It really is. Joe Burrow, 2,497 yards passing with 20 touchdowns, 11 picks. Joe Mixon, 7 touchdowns this year. And then Jamar Chase, he's got 835 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. I think for the Cincinnati Bengals, they've given up about 23 points a game. Yes, that is their weakness, but, we have to understand, look at the Las Vegas Raiders this year. They've had such an up and down season, right? They started off hot, and then we saw, what happened with the coach, and all this other stuff, right? All the distractions, the player, Henry Ruggs, what happened with his situation. I just think, the Raiders, they've been definitely battle-tested here. And I think this is a huge game for them. But I think for Derek Carr, he's got 15 touchdowns, 8 picks this year. And I think Josh Jacobs, 5 touchdowns. I expect them to have a big game. I really do. But their weakness, yet again, for the Raiders is their defense. Giving up about 26 points a game. I think the X factors in both these teams are the quarterback play for Derek Carr and Joe Burrow. Who is going to show up for them? Which quarterback is going to show up? Is it going to be the elite level, or is it going to be the turnover prone? I think, I'm going to go out on the limb and take the Bengals here. I think Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, being both from going to LSU together, I think they're going to be on the same page and really exploit that Las Vegas Raiders secondary. So I'm going to go Cincinnati Bengals here. Yes, they are favored by only one. Now, I could see this line being moved to even come game time because that's how close this game's going to be. Now, watch it be a blowout, but I doubt it. But I love the Cincinnati Bengals with the win here. I do. I like the Bengals and Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's a future superstar. His dedication to the craft, to everything, obviously being hurt last year, to winning a national championship with LSU. So I love the Bengals in this matchup. 50.5 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the under, but I love the Cincinnati Bengals over the Las Vegas Raiders. Then we got the Cowboys versus Kansas City Chiefs. This is definitely an interesting matchup. I think this is going to be the best game all weekend. Look, we got Dak Prescott, a couple young guns, and Patrick Mahomes. Dak Prescott, 20 touchdowns, 5 picks. Patrick Mahomes, 25 touchdowns and 10 picks. I think the X factor for both teams is definitely their defense, putting pressure on each quarterback, Dak Prescott and Mahomes. And I also think if the Cowboys want to win this game, I think Zeke's got to have a good game. I think he's got to rush for over 100 yards and really exploit the Kansas City defense. I don't think Kansas City's defense is that good. I mean, they are overrated, giving up 24 points a game. Yes, they have gotten better in the past couple games, but I still think that secondary is definitely their weakness here. Is giving up the deep ball. So I think Dak knows that. Amari Cooper is out for Dallas with COVID. Yes, it sucks. I have COVID. It's not fun at all. It's not fake. So people who are saying COVID is fake, that is ridiculous. That is ignorant. But you know what? This is such a hard game. I'm going to go on the limit and take Kansas City at 2.5. Now, I hope I'm wrong because I like Dallas. I want to see Dallas win, but I think Kansas City playing at home at 2.5. I think Mahomes is going to have a big game, and Tyreek Hill, 8 touchdowns this year. I think he's an X factor. I just think Amari Cooper being out for Dallas is such a loss for them. Yes, CeeDee Lamb, 726 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns for Dallas. I think for Dallas, which defense is going to show up? Is it going to be the defense that's flying to the ball, picking off passes? Or is it going to be the defense that look like they played against Denver Broncos on their heels, giving up play after play? So we just don't know. The Cowboys are such a question mark team right now. It's like, which team's going to show up? We don't know, but you know what? I'm gonna take the safe pick in Kansas City at home at 2.5. But I think Dak Prescott understands, hey, this is a big game. Mahomes is a Super Bowl winning champion quarterback. He is young like me, so I think he needs to have a big game here, and I think Zeke needs to have a big game, but I'm going Kansas City at 2.5. 56.5 is the over-under. I'll probably go with the over as well. I think both teams have great offenses and are going to score a lot of points, but I love Kansas City at 2.5 all day here. Go Kansas City. And then we got Arizona versus Seattle. Arizona's 1.5-point favorites. Kyler Murray, he's questionable with that ankle injury. I think if Kyler Murray's out, I got Seattle all day here. Now, if Kyler Murray does play and start, I love Arizona at 1.5. Colt McCoy last week had an interception versus the Panthers. They got blown out, really embarrassed. I think, Arizona, they do need Kyler Murray. Now, on the flip side, Seattle, this is a huge game. I think if Seattle Seahawks do lose this game, they're out. They will not make the playoffs. So this is arguably a playoff game for them. Russell Wilson last week got shut out. First time ever, in Seattle by Green Bay. So, 2 interceptions against Green Bay. That was a horrible game for Russell Wilson. One of the worst games I've seen in his career. But look, let's give him some leverage here. Coming off that injury. Look, DK Metcalf, 8 touchdowns this year. I think Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf need to be on the same page. They have to. If they want to win this game, they have to. But like I said, if Kyler Murray's going to be out, I love Seattle with this matchup. Now, if he's going to start, I love Arizona. James Conner for Arizona, 11 touchdowns this year. Hard runner, hard-nosed kid. I love this kid. But like I said, if Kyler Murray's out, I like Seattle with the upset here. 47 is the over-under. Probably go with the under, but I like Seattle if Kyler Murray's out for Arizona. Then we got Pittsburgh Steelers versus the LA Chargers. LA Chargers 5-point favorites. It makes sense. On paper, they are the better team. Ben Roethlisberger was out last week with COVID. Look, he's back now, so I think this is going to be huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, TJ Watt is out. Yes, Joe Harden, he is out as well for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's not great, looking at it. But I think, for Pittsburgh, dude, I think the running game and Najee Harris, they got to get that going. 4 touchdowns this year, the rookie. I think they need to get that going. But for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, over 2,500 yards passing. I think they need to get him going. Justin Herbert, the last couple games, really played iffy. So I just think they need to get that going. And Austin Ellinger, 5 touchdowns, over 500 yards rushing. I think they need to get going. The Chargers giving up 25 points a game. This is definitely a coin flip game. Yes, it makes sense why the Chargers are 5-point favorites, but if Herbert comes out and shows out like he did the first couple games of the season, I love the Chargers here. I do, but if the Steelers play smart, sounded, put pressure on Justin Herbert, and play nice, I like Pittsburgh here, but it's just hard for me to pick the Pittsburgh Steelers with all the injuries they have. If TJ Watt was in, I would pick the Steelers, but with all the injuries that the Pittsburgh Steelers are dealing with right now, and Ben Roethlisberger being out and then coming back, I think there's going to be a little rust there, and I think Big Ben's towards the end of his career, we all see that, and there's barely any in the gas tank left. So, you know what? I'm going to go the LA Chargers at home. I'll take the 5 points. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pittsburgh Steelers do win. I just think them being banged up right now is the reason I'm picking the Chargers and Justin Herbert. So I love the LA Chargers all day here. Then we got the Monday Night Football game, the New York Giants versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, they're favored by 11 points. That makes sense. I just think, yes, I'll take Tampa Bay in this matchup, but I'll go money line. I think that's a little too much. Yes, Tampa Bay, they're on a 2-game losing streak, and I think that has to do with Antonio Brown being out and Gronkowski being out. I really do. I think if these guys were in, they would have won those last 2 games. And that's just that's part of the game in the NFL. People get hurt, they get banged up. Antonio Brown is out with that ankle injury, and Gronkowski right now, he is questionable. So I think if Gronkowski comes back, I do love the spread, the 11 points, but if not, I still like the Bucs with the money line. I just think that's a little too much. Saquon Barkley is listed as questionable. If Saquon Barkley does play, that'll be huge for the Giants. I think this will be a nail-biter game if he does play, but I still like the Bucs all day in this matchup. Fournette, he's got 4 touchdowns. Daniel Jones over 2,000 yards passing with 8 touchdowns and 5 picks. The Giants, yes, this is a tough game. You're the away team. You're going away, but ultimately you're playing against the defending Super Bowl champions and Tom Brady, the GOAT. So I'm going to go Tampa Bay. I'll go money line, though. The 11 points I think is too much right now with all the injuries that Tampa Bay is battling, but I love Tampa Bay all day in this matchup. It's the NFL, man. There's a lot of close games, right? A lot of coin flips games, including the Bengals and Raiders. I think that is a coin flip game as well. But yes, the biggest upset game that I can see all weekend is definitely my Indianapolis Colts over the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills are 7-point favorites. It makes sense. Josh Allen is a good quarterback, but I think for the Colts, they got to put pressure on Josh Allen. They got to force him into bad decisions, and I think Carson Wentz, if he has a good game, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, I do think the Colts can win, and they need they need Leonard, that linebacker, to play for the Colts. So I think that's my upset pick of the week is the Colts over the Bills, baby. It's the NFL. It's the Clown with Cab show. Let's go!